Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're here with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you've had a really positive sort of week. I mean, as the world seems to try and strike a balance of what's a new normal now as we're all starting to come out of COVID lockdown in some form or another around the world. And I know that makes it a very struggling and a very challenging time for a lot of us as we try and manoeuvre our way with the restrictions that are going on locally, what's going on in your own country and what's going on globally. So it's quite a confusing time, but I'm sure we'll all get there. We're adaptable, we're humans, and it's a brand new week. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week that I've chose just before the show is the Seven of Swords. Now, the Seven of Swords is actually the highest of the minor arcana. Now, the tarot cards are split into two parts of the deck, the major arcana and the minor arcana. And the minor arcana is what we're working with today on the show, is the Seven of Swords, and it's the highest card of the minor arcana. So it's the card of our plans, our hopes, and it's also the wish card. Now, wouldn't that be nice if we got some wishes granted around the world? And I don't know about you, but I only have two things that I sort of wish for at the moment. One would be that we get an end to this COVID-19, that we could all get back to sort of normal life. And the other would be that we start to love one another and accept everybody on the planet, no matter what their colour of their skin, what their religious background is, what they believe in, that we can all become one world. Wouldn't that be an amazing place? But I'm sure that, we still have a little way to go with that. So let's move the show along and let's look at what we're working with this week on an astrological level. Look, it seems to be forever we've been talking about COVID, and it's been a really difficult, I think, couple of weeks as, the world sort of attention has focused on, people being killed unlawfully or by the wrong ways. And it's it's interesting to see the way that the world's reacting to one person's death. Now, I'm not trying to minimise that, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I just see it from an astrological point of view as a very, very interesting marker in time, because for many years now on the show I've been talking about Pluto's role in Capricorn and how his role is to deliberately change the world, to make us sort of start to sit up and think and take responsibility for our actions and look at the ways that we're doing things and looking at the things that aren't working in our lives and saying now is the time that we all have to unite together and force change in this globe of ours. And it's interesting because we've seen changes in money markets, we've seen changes in the way that people do business around the globe. We've had a lot of people jumping up and down and carrying on about global warming, which I think is an amazing thing that we all need to jump up and down about. And we're starting to slowly see countries and nations starting to change their policies on fossil fuels and things like that. Still not going fast enough, but we're heading in the right direction. And then we've seen the pandemic, and now we're seeing people starting to stand up for civil rights. Now, all of these things are very much a Pluto thing, because Pluto sort of makes us dive under the covers and look at the things that have been hidden, or the things that we see that are too difficult to handle, that we sort of say, oh, I'll put that away for another day. Well, that other day has now arrived. Now, Pluto is leading the charge now with the direction of where things are going. So this is why we're seeing sort of such intensity, and we're seeing things grow on a daily basis. And I know even here in Australia, people are saying, well, why are we so obsessed with this one particular death in the US? And, a terrible tragedy and a terrible way that man died. But why are we all up in arms about it? It's not just symbolising his death. It struck a nerve. Everybody's saying enough. We've had enough now. We've had a few months of sort of sitting there contemplating our navel during COVID-19, being locked indoors and having to sort of straighten out our own lives and look at what's important to us. And this is part of the reason why I think people are saying, well, hang on a minute, life's too short and nobody deserves to die under those circumstances. We need to do something about this. We need to change our culture. We need to change our thinking. Look, I'm not saying one side's right and the other side's wrong. I'm saying collectively as a globe, we all need to sort of start becoming more accountable looking at the way that we conduct ourselves, the way we conduct business, the way we conduct our daily lives. And this is what Pluto's been asking us to do, is to question, is to stand up to governments in a positive sort of way, not in a destructive way. Nobody's asking you to go out there and break the law, but to try and get your voice heard in a very positive way. And it will be that, politicians do react to the public. They want to be popular. They want to get re-elected. So, this is why if you use your voice in a positive way and do it in a constructive way by voting in your local elections and things like that, that your voice, your one vote or your one voice does matter and it does count. So we've got Pluto conjunct or holding hands Jupiter in Capricorn at the moment. So it's asking the world to transform together as one. It's not asking us to individually sort of have an argument with each other. It's asking us all to unite and conduct ourselves in a way that we can get real change happening. Now, the interesting thing, as Pluto and Jupiter come to the end of their reign in Capricorn, and Jupiter will move out of Capricorn before Pluto, they're both conjunct or holding hands Saturn in Aquarius. Now, Saturn in Aquarius is the disciplinarian planet. He's also asking us to think outside the square. Let's find new solutions. Let's sort of have some light bulb moments. Let's have some discussions. Let's look at things differently. Things cannot go on the way that they were. And he's also asking us to sort of have a voice in a different way. And that doesn't mean stand up and be aggressive. It just means make your voice matter. And I feel that that's really, really important. And I think a lot of people have just got lost in the way of how that they can use their voice. And there's many different ways you can use your voice. You can send an email to your local member of parliament. You can make sure that you vote. You can make sure that, you sort of are well informed before you open your mouth and start talking about things that you know nothing about. And try and be kind to each other. I think that's the first step, is always be kind to your fellow man. We also have the planet Mars, which is the planet of action, the planet of war, the planet that motivates us to get out of bed of a morning. He's holding hands or conjunct Neptune. Now, Neptune's the planet of illusion or delusion. Now, they're both sitting in Pisces. Now, with Neptune, I don't always look at Neptune as being delusionary. I look at Neptune as showing us different ways of solving a problem. So it is taking it out into sort of the never and sort of looking for a solution and bringing it back and saying, wow, this is a different way of looking at things. Maybe this is what I need to be doing. Some astrologers I know talk about Neptune being in a fog, and eventually you sort of clear your way out of the fog and there comes the solutions. I like to look at Neptune as being creative, of giving us a different way of looking at things, at saying, well, hang on a minute, have you thought about it this way? Have you looked at it that way? It may not always be the answer, but at least it's asking us to remove ourselves out of our comfortable position and get into maybe a prickly area or another area that we hadn't thought of. So with Mars there holding hands with Neptune at the moment, he's asking us to find answers to life's decisions and life's prickly areas in a different sort of way. It's not asking us to be aggressive or angry or to be destructive. Mars doesn't, when we talk about war or going to war or being in a combative energy, it doesn't mean we have to be aggressive as in destructive. We can be affirmative, we can be definite, we can be positive, we can sort of be firm on our decisions and our choices and make our voices heard that way. So that's where I'm going to leave the astrology this week. I mean, of course, COVID hasn't sort of been eradicated from the world yet. I wish we could say it had. I'm looking forward to the day when we don't have any more cases of COVID in the world. I still think that's a little way off, unfortunately. And I'm the forever optimist, thinking that things will improve quickly. And I still believe that we haven't yet got to the bottom of the answers of how COVID came about and why COVID came into the world. I mean, I think it's about one of the areas of making us change as a globe, but I also feel that there's more information yet to come out about that. Okay, so this week's candle that I've chosen, and I've chosen this deliberately. I've chosen the candle of love because I feel that love is what makes the world go round, and love is the energy that I think we need to try and heal the planet at the moment. We've got to try and heal everybody's raw emotions. We've got to try and be kind to each other. We've got to try and bring more loving energy into the world. And I think that's really, really important, because if we bring love into the world, we bring positivity into the world, we bring hope, we bring newness, we bring freshness, we bring this renewed enthusiasm of maybe the world's going to be a better place. Love isn't always about romance and falling in love. It has a much broader appeal than that. Love is something that makes the world go round by a positive, loving, caring sort of energy, and that's what I think we need to be doing. We all need to be taking some responsibility for that. So this week, the gift pack that I've made up is yes, staying along the same theme of the love candle, but I will continue to share with us my angel in the sky, and you can see those burning at the back of the set there. That's the candles that I'm burning collectively for all the darling angels that we've lost through COVID-19. And, there's been other people that have lost lives for other reasons, but I'm particularly burning it for the COVID patients, because I think we're not giving enough focus to how many people have passed away around this world during this pandemic, and also the candle of healing. I really do think the planet needs to heal on every sort of level, and it's not just healing us from COVID-19. I think we need to heal emotionally. We need to heal as a globe, and we need to heal together. We need to stop this nastiness and this bitterness and this fighting between countries and nations and, taking sides in things. We are all in this together. We are one world, and we need to be focusing on that. And I think we can all do our part in playing our role in the healing of the planet. I think that that's very, very important. And I know that for many of you, you have, your very definite opinions on what you think the world should be doing at the moment. And a lot of people are still quite frightened, are still quite rattled that they don't have enough work coming in or enough money to pay their bills, and are very uncertain about their futures. My suggested course of action would be take 1 hour at a time. Don't try and sort of absorb everything in one go. If you try and take hour by hour and try and make the next hour count and try and remain positive and sort of focus on little pieces, little steps, you will find it easier, and you will find solutions, and you will find that eventually we do get where we need to go. And sometimes we have to be forced into change that we wouldn't have necessarily taken, but it's part of our own personal destiny or our own personal journey here on earth, that these things are forced upon us to make us change. So having said that, we're going to talk with Jackie in Colorado Springs in Colorado. Are you there, Jackie?
Yes, I'm here. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Jackie. Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yes, I'm actually have a question regarding my citizenship. I just applied for my citizenship 2 years ago, and it's still in the process. I'm just wondering what's going on, and also I've misplaced a very important item. If I just can get anything on that. Those are my two things. How are you?
I'm good. Okay. Look, the first thing I'm picking up around you is that there is changes coming, even though they might have been slow and long-winded and might have taken longer than you would have liked them to. There is change coming. But I question whether or not you've changed in yourself in this last couple of years, that, whether or not your priorities have changed, and maybe had you got everything you wanted a couple of years ago, it may not have been right, because I feel your direction in life has changed. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah. That kind of, yeah. I think a lot have changed. I have 2 kids, I'm just trying to juggle that. So I think I'm coming a little bit into myself and finding a little bit of calmness going on, I think, within me.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good if you're finding some calmness in this madness at the moment in the world, Jackie. You're one of the rare people I've spoken to recently that can say to me that they're finding some calmness. That's good. But I also sort of feel that there's a change of job or something coming up for you by about August or September. So is that something that you were thinking about or looking towards?
I'm a stay-home mother, and I've been debating and contemplating. I'm not sure what I want to do. I've been thinking about going back to school to be a dental hygienist. I'm not sure if that's the right route I want to go to. So I'm just struggling and fighting with what I want to do when I come back from being a stay-home mom. And I was thinking of maybe starting school in August. So I'm just still all up in the air right now. Yeah.
Well, let's be very clear. The most important job that we can do on the planet as women is mums, is being a mum, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being a stay-home mum. I think if you've had the luxury and the opportunity to do that, grab it with both hands and keep your children close and enjoy every second with them, because they do grow so quickly, and before you blink, they're often off to college and leaving home, and, those precious memories are no longer, the opportunity for you to make. Look, I think it's interesting that we put too much pressure on ourselves as sort of, I'm only a stay-at-home mum, instead of sort of saying, well, I'm proud to be a stay-at-home mum, that, this is the most important job I can do in the world. But having said that, I do appreciate and understand that, you are a human being and you have needs, and, you want to feel like you're making some sort of personal progress for yourself and not just bring extra money into the coffers as well. But, you need to do something for you as a person. And I appreciate and understand all that. That must be why they showed me August as being sort of like a turning point for you with going back to work. But see, going back into some sort of study, getting you ready to go back to work would be the same thing to me. So it's like around August is a turning point. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I mean, there'll be a lot of things that'll come and go out of your mind over the next month or so. Just let them come. It's like the tide coming in, the tide going out. Don't get upset by it. If there's things there that are uncomfortable, look at it, understand it, and then let it go. It's a time of great clearing happening in your life at the moment. I'm also going to say, who's the man, and I'm not talking about a love interest here, who's the man with the very, very dark hair that was tall, that was somehow or another important to you in high school? Now, I'm not sure, I'm not talking about a boyfriend. I think there was a male in your life then, whether it was a teacher or something like that. There's news of that person, and I don't think you've thought about them in a long time, but when you do, you think, oh, yeah, look, he was such an important role model in my life at, when I was 16. Oh, that's nice to hear that, something wonderful's happened. I want to use that as a marker in time. When someone mentions something like that to you in passing and it takes you for a little trip down memory lane, just past that point will be then when you've really got to pay attention to the things that are coming into your mind, because that will be there where we start to get the pieces to the puzzle of the next stages of your life. It's like, this is to get your attention. Now I've got your attention. Here's the information that you've got to start putting the pieces into your own jigsaw puzzle. So has there been some talk about moving residence, Jackie?
We recently moved residency. We purchased a new home, so we literally are almost a month in our new house.
Okay, good. Right, because I was still feeling quite unsettled, with a move around you. So, if you've only been a month in the new house, it takes time to sort of settle in, doesn't it? So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still think there's things there that you want to change. I just don't know that everything's quite where you want it to be yet. So, just enjoy the new home, and I know that things are going to turn around and move forward for you, Jackie, and it's been lovely to talk with you. And I hope you're having a good time in Colorado Springs. We're going to work with Angelina now in Washington, D.C. Are you there, Angelina? Hello, Angelina. Oh, I'm sure Angelina will be with us in a minute. So, why don't we all focus on that beautiful song by the Beatles that, love makes the world go round, all you need is love. And I think that's a very important song that we could all be playing ourselves today, is All You Need Is Love, and understanding that love does make the world go round. As we're waiting for Angelina to join us, we've lost her somewhere along the line. But it is very, very interesting, over a very extensive career in the psychic industry. The more I work with people, the more I understand that, everybody's different and everybody has different ways of dealing with crises. Are you there, Angelina? Hello?
Hello?
Hi,
Hello?
Angelina. How are you, sweetie? Do you
Good
have a question
afternoon.
I can work with? Do you have
I'm
a
sorry,
question
I
I can
barely
work
can
with,
hear
Angelina?
you.
You can't hear me, sweetie.
A little bit. You gotta also forgive me. I'm also doing grocery shopping too.
Oh, okay. Do you have a question I can work with, please, Angelina?
I'm sorry, but yes, my first name is Elena.
Right. And do you have a question you'd like me to answer for you, sweetie?
The first thing I would like to know about is finances and good work, stable work.
Okay. Let me tune into that
Because
for you,
I'm looking
Angelina.
to buy a car as well as get my own fleet.
Okay. Well, they're all important areas of your life, Angelina, that you want to get sort of sorted out. I can understand that. The first thing that they're showing me is that there's still a tiny little bit of waiting time, Angelina, before you get what I consider to be permanent, regular sort of work, something that you can rely on. They're showing me that that won't come in until about August. I'm not saying that there won't be work prior to August. I'm just saying by August, it seems to be when you can sort of breathe a sigh of relief. I've got something that's consistent. It's every week. I know exactly what I'm going to bring in. I can start to sort of make some longer range plans for where I'm going and what I'm doing. So that seems to be, you've still got about 6 or 7 weeks to wait for that. But in that period of time, I think there will be a reasonable amount of what I call casual or unstable sort of work, but there's enough money coming in for you to start sort of putting some money away to sort of get a car and to sort of get your own place and to get your life back on track. It's been a very difficult 18 months, Angelina. I feel that, nothing that you've been able to sort of make any plans with or keep it together in this last 18 months. So things are now starting to sort of stabilise. Have you started doing something different in as much as sort of looking after yourself better, or you've changed your diet or looking at things in a different way? Because they're showing me that your physical health is starting to improve drastically. It's like I've got more energy. I feel more comfortable with myself. I feel as if I'm feeling the best I've felt in a very, very long time. So whatever you've done, whatever changes you've made, keep it up, because I feel it really is benefiting you, and that's a good thing. I'm seeing you in a place of your own, sort of by, well and truly by the end of August, maybe even at the beginning of the month. It's sort of like everything's starting to come together. I think you'll have a place of your own probably a little bit sooner than you will the car. But I'm going to say to you, the job and where you're going to be living are so close that a car may not necessarily be as urgent as you thought it was. I'm not saying you won't buy one, but I think you're going to be able to easily get to work from where you're living, that a car may not be necessary to get to and from the job. It's sort of more going to be something it's nice to have, more so than a necessity, and that's a good thing. There's a lot of change to come up for the remainder of this year, Angelina. You're starting to understand more about what you need in your life and what you no longer need. This last 18 months has been a difficult transition where you've sort of really sorted out who you can trust, who you can't trust, who's useful, who isn't useful in your life anymore. And it's sort of been too many people came and gave you all their problems, that you were the one that sort of fixed the world. Well, now you're putting that energy into fixing Angelina's world, and that's a good thing. By putting yourself first and putting yourself at the top of the queue, now we're going to start to see those results for that, and that's a good thing. So they're also showing me a pink heart. Now, normally when they show me a pink heart, Angelina, it either means an increase in love in the current relationship you're in, or usually more importantly, it means there's a new relationship coming. I just sort of felt it was sort of like more love coming into your life. I didn't necessarily feel it was, quote, a new relationship. I just felt your life was expanding out and you were feeling more love, that you were feeling life is starting to go the direction that you want it to go, and that's a good thing. And it's, you've worked really hard to get here. You've worked really hard on yourself. It's been a tough time, but now you're starting to feel that life will start to bring you the rewards that you deserve. And it is going to start bringing you the rewards. And that's a good thing. I just want you to make sure, Angelina, that you don't fall back into old habit patterns of allowing people to dump their rubbish at your feet and get you to sort it out. It's now time that you've got to continue on with looking after yourself, doing the things that matter to you, the things that are important to you. They're the important things that we need to be focusing on. So that's where we're going to leave, Angelina. So I hope for everybody around the world this week that you start looking at more ways that you can bring love and positivity into your life. Smile when you go out, if you have the luxury of being able to go out and go shopping or have a get-together with some friends, but make sure that you do remain COVID safe. Please keep your distance, wear a mask, be considerate of others. Look, I know a mask isn't necessarily the prettiest fashion statement in the world, but for the moment, it's the fashion statement that we all need so that we are keeping ourselves as safe as possible, and make sure that we try and smile and find something positive to think about every day, and always make sure that you have positive, uplifting music going on your turntable. I think that's important. Bye for now.